Have you ever thought you liked someone deeply, only to realize later that it wasn't really love, it was just the thrill of being understood? I came across a post recently that made me stop and reflect. It said, "All the people I used to talk to late into the night. None of them became my partner. And now, I finally understand why. We often mistake emotional connection for something deeper. Those long conversations, the shared thoughts, the easy understanding, it's easy to confuse that with love. But more often than not, it's not about real affection. It's about the surprise of sharing. That momentary high we get when someone seems to get us. We want to exchange ideas. We're curious. But that curiosity doesn't always extend to who the other person truly is. We might want to know their opinions, but not their life story. And that difference matters. Because real liking, the kind that grows into lasting connection, starts with curiosity about the person themselves, not just what they think or say. It's about wanting to know their childhood, their family, what shaped them, what hurt them, what brought them joy. I talked to a friend recently who reflected on his past relationship. He said, "I thought I loved her because we talked all the time. Thousands of messages, phone calls every day. But when it ended, I realized I didn't even know her last name properly. He never asked her about her family or her history. And she never asked him about his. They connected through endless chatting, but never truly explored each other as people. It felt intense. But it wasn't love. When it ended, he didn't feel heartbreak. He felt relief. And that made him realize something powerful. What he had fallen for wasn't her. It was the feeling of being seen in that moment of his life." This happens to so many of us. Especially when we're vulnerable. When we're going through a low point, and someone appears, offering comfort, attention, company, we grab onto that emotional bond. But sometimes, we're just projecting our own need for light onto them. We call it love, but it's more like self-soothing through another person. So why do we mistake sharing for love? Because when you share something meaningful, especially something others don't usually understand, and someone actually gets it, it creates a powerful emotional spark. A sense of finally, someone like me. You feel seen. You feel mirrored. And that's a beautiful feeling. But it's also deceptive. It's not love. It's resonance. And while resonance feels good, it doesn't necessarily mean we know the person, or that they know us. You can spend hours talking about books, ideas, or dreams, and never stop to ask where that person came from, or where they're really going in life. And they might never ask you either. If you never feel the urge to ask those deeper questions, what kind of child they were, whether they were loved, how they handled conflict, then it's probably not real emotional intimacy. You're enjoying the surface level comfort without digging into the real foundation. Real love is driven by a different kind of curiosity. Not just, "What do you think about this topic?" but "Who are you really?" And this desire to know, truly know, comes from what psychologists call exploratory desire. It's when we want to understand someone so deeply that we ask, listen, and observe everything about them. We want to know their fears, their joys, their regrets, their family dynamics. And we also want to share those parts of ourselves. This mutual unveiling is where real connection happens. The writer Borges once said, "I give you my loneliness, my darkness, the hunger of my heart. I try to impress you with confusion, danger, and failure. This is what it looks like to really like someone. To show them your soul. And to want theirs in return." This also brings us to another point, aggressiveness in love. Not in the harmful sense, but in the psychological sense. It's about being alive. Being direct. Being able to express yourself and your desires without fear. Why are people who seem a little bad often so attractive? Because they live unapologetically. They have boundaries. They don't hide their feelings. They ask for what they want. And that kind of energy feels magnetic. It's unpredictable. It's real. Psychologically, this is tied to vitality. When someone is fully alive in themselves, when they stop pleasing and start expressing, they become irresistible. Because they're not shrinking. They're not trying to be perfect. They're just being true. In relationships, this kind of honesty brings depth. But when one person always holds back, avoids conflict, or hides parts of themselves to keep the peace, it can make the relationship feel safe but also shallow. There's no true emotional intimacy if one person is always walking on eggshells. So if you want a deep, meaningful connection, you need two things. First, real curiosity. The kind that makes you want to know someone fully. Not just what they share, but what they hide. Second, the courage to be seen. To live out your truth. To stop being what others want and start being who you really are. Because when both people show up with honesty, curiosity, and that spark of vitality, that's when love stops being an illusion, and starts becoming something real. If this feels like your story, you're not alone. Hit that like button to let the algorithm know this matters. Subscribe for more raw, psychology-backed insights into love, connection, and emotional healing. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever shared everything but still felt like strangers?